Hello, this is my review of J.R.R. Tolkien's translation of the Old English poem Beowulf. I just bought this at the bookshop in Chadstone. I can't remember the name of the bookshop. It's the fancy one near the bus stops. And I think this was the last copy. The sales girl was very excited to talk about Beowulf because it turns out that she had also studied Beowulf at Monash University and had Felix as a teacher. This, I think, is very interesting among the translations that you might be able to get of Beowulf. This one's a very interesting one. It's interesting because it only came out about a year ago, just over a year ago. This obviously is edited. It's edited by, what does it say? Edited by Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, who has been responsible for editing a lot of Tolkien's posthumous material. According to the preface, this translation was done in 1926, when Tolkien was quite a young man, and it was before he spent the next 30, 40 years of his life teaching about Anglo-Saxon England and about Old English literature. Tolkien was one of the main figures for the rehabilitation of Beowulf in the 20th century. Even previously had been of scholarly interest to historians and to linguists. Tolkien was one of the figures who brought it back as a literary text that was worth reading in its own right. So the translation is in prose, but it does have line markings, so it's actually probably not a bad, I don't know if you can see the line in the margins there. The line markings make it potentially a good reference translation of the poem. The actual translation itself is just under 100 pages, just about that much of the book, and large section that follows is a commentary on Beowulf that that Tolkien sort of wanted to come out of his lectures on Beowulf and Anglo-Saxon culture and Old English literature. So the main value of this book, I think, for anyone studying Beowulf is the commentary that follows after the translation of the poem. The translation, I mean, it's not bad. As I say, it's about 90 pages long. I would judge the prose as fairly archaic. It possibly has more in common with 19th century translations of Beowulf. The sentence structures are very convoluted, I think, a lot of the time. Now to Beowulf were the dread tidings told, swift and true, that his own homestead, best of houses, was crumbling in the whirling blaze, even the royal seat of the Geats. Grief was that to the good man's heart, the greatest of sorrows in his breast. Wise though he was, he thought that he had bitterly angered the eternal Lord, ruler of all, against the ancient law. All told, I think this is a good book. I'm really glad I bought it. It's definitely worth having for the commentary, and it's worth having Tolkien's actual translation, but you wouldn't want it to be your only copy. At the very least, you want to at least get a verse copy with numbered lines. So, yeah. Just, knowing that, Tolkien's a banner name, a brand, a reliable brand, this should be an interesting book to own, an interesting edition of Beowulf to get behind.